colors out of
Greetings, everyone. Yes, it is Wednesday. Yes, it is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Witches, talking about witches in movies. My name is Patty Negri. I am one of your hosts. I am honored to be here. This is Black Phillip. So we've all got all sorts of news this week. So I'm going to start here. Let's start with Courtney. What do you got going on?
So are we doing news first? I thought we were doing intros first.
We're doing intros first.
Oh, well, I'm Courtney Buckley. I have a lot going on that I'll share in a few minutes. My Black Phillip is over here because we're, I don't know, maybe in a little bit of fight right now because my other Black Phillip is on the screen.
Oh. Seeing double. So thank you very much. Richard Lale.
Hello, I am Richard Lale. Richard Lale is one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I would be a. With that, I am the gentleman psychic. I am everywhere. I am everywhere gentlemen psychics are found. And I'm just happy to be here today. Great movie. I mean, good movie.
Oh,
good things. Good to be here is what I mean.
And the lovely, extra lovely today, Miss Heather Green.
Hi, I'm Heather Green. I am an author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. I actually have it to hold up. Yay. And I am also a journalist covering all things occult, as well as an editor at Llewellyn. And this weekend, we are hosting Mystic South in Atlanta, and there are still tickets available at the door. So you show up in Atlanta at the Crowne Plaza Ravinia and come join 500, 600 of your best witchy and mystical friends for a weekend of fun. So come join us. And I'll talk more about that later, but that's what I've got going on this week. That's enough.
Next year. I'm going to be there next year.
Yay.
Anyway, I have some really exciting news other than Black Phillip's eyes are going the wrong way. I'm proud to say a lifelong dream of mine, truly lifelong, since the 1980s when I discovered the craft. I discovered witchcraft through this little thing called Llewellyn. Scott Cunningham, my first leading into it. And for decades now, I've been saying I would nothing better in the world than to be a Llewellyn author. I am proud to announce as of today, I am a Llewellyn author. Thank you, Heather Green.
Yay!
It's called Dollcraft. It's about magical puppets and haunted dolls. It's going to be out next year, but you're going to be able to pre-order, and I am the happiest girl in the world. And Heather is going to be doing my foreword because we're haunted doll girls, if you haven't figured that out yet. And I could not be any happier. So dream come true. So thank you, Llewellyn.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Patty.
I'm giddy as a schoolgirl. But going back to things going on, something with last week or something, right, Courtney? What?
Yes, something happened last week. So if anyone was watching with us last week, we had a little incident on the show, which may have seemed like nothing, but there's more to the story. So I think we have a clip of it for anyone who missed it.
Who may or may not be a charlatan. Because in the course of it, yes, he does that sort of audience trick where he...
What?
That was only...
Richard Lale! What did you
do? I am telling you, we are summoning the spirits right now. We are summoning those spirits. God. So it should be noted that my pillow just kicked the bucket right over there. So it is, of course, Late Night with the Devil.
So, yeah, anyone that knows me or watches Scared and Alone or has watched any interview I've ever given, I don't let the ghost come in my house. And the interesting part about this, I don't know if I can get the wide shot here, but the Richard Lale pillow that I have, and he sits behind me every week, was sitting on this brown package that I haven't opened yet. And this brown package was sent to me by none other than Dean Hagland, because it is his haunted Roomba that we all, there it is right there, that we all tease him about. I haven't opened it yet. And I had to send an apology text to Dean because I thought he was overreacting and being dramatic about it. And it wasn't really haunted until things started happening. And it's not even out of the package yet. So also Richard Lale saw what he said was like a light moving around me, which I brushed off and said, oh no, it's a bug. Apparently was not a bug. And then friend of the show, Tabitha Meadows, had a dream about me and posted it to my Facebook wall and was like, I need to make sure you're okay. It had to do with, you can go on my Facebook and see it. It had to do with like spiders biting me and that there was like venom stuck in my leg and whatever. So I reached out to her and I showed her the clip and I explained like, that's Dean's vacuum. And I feel really bad because I was not nice about it. And obviously it was real. And then she started picking up on, or she was telling me that she had picked up on like a female spirit who was trying to get into this box behind me, which, mind you, is dirty clothes. So if someone wants to do my laundry, have at it. But she said the interesting thing that was, it was like the person was in like black and white, like grayscale. And she had other little tidbits to share, like from that early 1900s, which there is supposedly a ghost in my house. I live on the first floor and up on the third floor is the attic and she stays up there. But there is newspapers from that time period, like pasted on the walls of the attic. So this is something that like my upstairs neighbors hear and have told me about, but I have put such protections around my own house that I don't experience it and I don't hear about it until I welcomed Dean's haunted Roomba into my house. So someone might be getting a package because I don't know if it can stay here.
And you haven't even opened it yet. You could cleanse it. You could smudge it. We could do it all on camera if you want. We could cleanse it.
I think I might need to because I was supposed to, like, I was going to film an unboxing video and make it for, you know, like people who watch Scared and Alone to watch because I thought it'd be fun. But I don't even want anything to, like, I feel like I'm going to open it and unleash the beast. Like, I've been too scared. Rob, our producer, has been like, hey, have you unboxed it yet? No, because I'm scared of it.
You knew it was a haunted Roomba when he sent it to you?
I knew that he thought it was haunted, but he is very scared of everything. And I thought he made it up.
Well, I have to say, I was certain it was not a bug that was flying around because it was this sort of gray scale, and it would traverse all behind that painting, the two in between. It would go back and forth, and then it would come over to this side, and then it would go to this side, and it was like a flash.
Yeah, thanks.
Remember that back in the 80s, there was a demonic toaster, and the woman said she had the news media in, and the toast was burnt, and it would say "Hail Satan" on it. Mm-hmm. And then the news media said, well, why didn't you get rid of it? And she says, well, it makes really good toast. I think with you, I think you keep it, you use it. If the ghost wants to do your laundry and sweep your floors, have at it.
I mean, if whatever ghost is here can somehow transport laundry into the washing machine, run it, and then switch it over to the dryer, you can stay. You can absolutely I won't even charge rent. Like, you can just stay.
But how many haunted houses do you see that are clean? I mean, honestly, like mine was, but that was because I was living there. But like, how many like just ghosts living in a space? Do you ever see a clean haunted house?
No, it could be the first of the kind. We could study it.
Ghosts are typically slobs. They just are.
That's what I blame my messy house on.
But anyway, yeah. So now apparently I am a haunted object collector by accident because I didn't believe.
It starts out with dolls. You're a doll collector. Now you're gonna have.
Yeah. It starts with the dolls.
I'm gonna have to like paint a Ouija board on my floor like I threatened to do to Dean and have Rosie ride it around my house and see what it wants.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect. All right. Well, anyway, so it's been a busy week for all of us. We miss Jason tonight. We wish him well wherever he is in the ethers. And he will be back next week. And hi, everybody. Comments. Demonic toaster. Yeah. I'd rather have a Roomba. I could use one of those. So if you decide to get rid of it, I'll take it.
All right.
I have a very crowded house. Anyway, our movie, Beautiful Creatures. In case somebody hasn't seen it, Richard Lael, do you have a quick little synopsis of this?
Do have a quick unbiased synopsis of this Southern Gothic translation of a book into a movie. It is a Romeo and Juliet story. They're from two different houses. One is mortal. One is not a witch. She is adamant she is not a witch. She's just a caster. She's a caster. She's a caster. And by caster, I mean, like spell caster, and not like a caster on the bottom of your sofa, the little wheel that moves things around. Anyway, so she moves to this little small town in South Carolina, and it's completely Southern. But she moves to this little town with her uncle. And in this, we find that she comes from a long line of people who don't use the term witch, but use the term caster, that there is some kind of curse. She falls in love with the obviously 16-year-old boy who is in no way a 30-year-old man. And even though she's 15 and in no way looks like she's 28. Anyway, she falls in love with this kid, and they're working to try to break the curse. But meanwhile, the cousin has come back into town, and the girl gets ousted from school. All of her energy happens, and she has almost a Carrie moment that they're trying to pray the demons out, and all of the windows in the school blow out. And the uncle then decides, they're having this meeting. So that the uncle says, I'm going to go to the meeting. I own the town. We're going to make certain that my niece stays in school. When he goes in, of course, it's in a church, and there is the very stereotypical Southern evangelical who is against Democrats and gays and atheists and all of that. But it turns out that it is actually, was it his sister? Anyway, it's the mother. I guess it would be the mother of the girl, and she's in disguise. So anyway, they fight. And shouldn't I? How do I break this curse? They meet someone who has this book of spells, this library of spells from all over the world. And the uncle, by the way, is sort of an extra from Doctor Strange. He's very sort of Doctor Strange. He's sort of a good witch himself, but not a witch. And they're all trying to protect her, except for the bad people who are trying to not protect her, and they want to draw her into the dark. But she, at her 16th birthday, she has to make the decision. Am I evil? Am I good? Long story short, the boy says he's going to be with her the entire time. Even though he wants to get out of town, he loves her, and he will be there with her. So to protect him, she makes it so that he is no longer in love with her, that's the way that he has to go, because if he stays with her, he will die. And there's more than one way for someone to die. And so she became dead to him. But it turns out that in the end, the evil mother, who was masquerading as the church woman, it turns out that she had sort of cast this love spell on this child, so he would shoot his best friend in a Civil War reenactment, and thus unleashing the ghost from the great-great-grandmother from the American Civil War, who lost someone who then became evil because she brought him back to life. And that's the one spell you're never supposed to do. I know it sounds confusing, but it said the only way that the curse could be broken is that if someone that you loved died, you used your power to kill someone that you loved. And it turns out that her uncle was masquerading as the boy in this sort of human skin disguise. I don't know how it works. I know that sounds creepy. She loves the boy. He ends up by going off to school to NYU. But then at the very last minute, when he's all but forgotten about her, he sees her at the library. And as they pass the sign where he, who is definitely 16, 17, 18, and she, who is definitely 15, 16, definitely, where they had intercourse, and it was all on fire. And then as they're leaving,
It was.
I know it's a lot. There's spinning tornado rooms, and I mean, how can I describe it? I don't know. I watched it on my phone, but it was really good. I mean, it was interesting. That's what I can say. So the end, he stops the car. He says, "Wait, Lena," and she's decided that she's going to be both good and evil because you have to have balance of both. That sort of is that's it.
Thank you very much. It is a Romeo and Juliet story of non-witches that call themselves casters and the choice of good and evil. Thank you, Richard Leal. We have got it clear. Now, Heather, do you have any more information on it to perhaps make it clearer or different? Either something in your book or
clearer or different?
Well, so it is in my book. I talk about this movie a lot, and especially when I do lectures on it, because it is one of the very typical strong movies that came out right at the beginning of this last wave of witch film popularity. And it actually was the film that made me dust off the project that I had started years before. And then the project then was dusted off and turned into my book. So this movie has sort of a special place in my heart in that way. It really got my project going again. But I do have 5 things to know, and some of them are pretty interesting. The first thing, the first thing is going to be its origin, the original story. Number 2 is Gothic romance and horror. We'll talk about that again. Number 3, the age of 16 and why that's important. Number 4, are you a good witch or a bad witch? And number 5, the cast. There's some important notable cast members and some interesting things, especially one that I want to highlight. So let's get started. Number 1, it is a book. It was originally a book. It was a series of 4 stories called The Caster Chronicles by, I can read my own handwriting, Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. They both have written a number of other types of books. This is what they're most known for. This was the first of the series of 4. There are then a bunch of short stories. The second 3 the rest of the movies were not. The rest of the books were not made into movies, and that's probably because this one bombed so bad. Number 2, let's go to Gothic romance. Oh, and just so you know, the book came out in 2009, the movie's 2013. So there wasn't that much of a difference, but it was extremely popular at the time. Now, Gothic romance and horror. Of course, this was, which everybody might already know, this was the Twilight era. So of course, that was why they picked up this particular property, because they're like, well, Twilight was really popular. Let's make a Twilight type of Gothic romance about witches. And so here we have beautiful creatures. So that was really probably the impetus to do this. And as I said, it did not do well. It cost $60 million, and it didn't actually go above 60 million until recently. In its opening, it only made $7.5 million. So it really has been a giant flop. So that is that was that. But this was Twilight. Twilight was so popular. We had a huge number of vampire movies. We had lots of Gothic stuff. This was part of that rollout. It was also part of the beginning of the witchcraft interest in witchcraft, as I said, and a lot of the witch movies at this time were fairy tale related, and they had a lot of Gothic. And what is Gothic horror? Of course, we have the Southern theme, which is often found in Gothic romance. You have a girl that is fighting between what she wants and what the society wants of her. You have old houses, you have lots of woods and nature. You have a spooky Edgar Allan Poe mood. These are things. Supernatural is very common. Distressed heroine, as I said, typically some kind of fallen angel. Usually the heroine or hero is not exactly perfect. They usually have some sordid past or some weird something tweak about them. It all fits very nicely into this. This is very much a young adult gothic romance, and I wouldn't call it horror. It's gothic romance. And the South Carolina Southern aesthetic works brilliantly in most of these. Think Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. I always like to use that as the example. So let's get to number 3. Why the age of 16? Now, so in this movie, the age of 16 is when she will be chosen for good or evil. That is what is happening here. Will she be good or bad? And I'll talk about that in a second, but it's the age of 16 that this is going to be happening. Think of your fairy tales now. Think of The Little Mermaid. Think of Sabrina, and not a fairy tale. It's always the age of 16, not only in witch movies when young teenagers are coming of age, but also in a lot of movies about teenage girls. That seems to be the chosen, whether it's Western society, folk tales, fairy tales, it's the chosen age when a girl starts to become a woman or becomes a woman or starts to realize her power in witch movies. And that's very, very common. And we have it here right before our very eyes. And that leads me to, are you a good witch or a bad witch? So in this scenario, in this narrative, witches are chosen at the age of 16 to be good or bad. And that's a really interesting dichotomy, because in most witch films prior to this, a witch is either good or bad. You can be a good witch or you can be a bad witch, and you can see that binary throughout. During the 2010s, when you start to get witch films, we start to see that breakdown. Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is one of the most brilliant breakdowns of morality and ethics, where it goes in all different ways. This is a great sign at the beginning of it. It is, she's struggling with, oh my goodness, I could be bad. Do I want to be good? Maybe I'm bad. She's going through this, and really you see the family of witches who are all good and bad. Each of them are part of the binary. But at the end of the movie, it says she is chosen both for good. Her eyes are one of each color. And she exemplifies that we are all bad and good. How you use your magic is really what defines you, and defines you as a magician, defines you as a person. This is not only a difference in how witchcraft and witches are represented. I don't care. They say casters, we're saying witches. But it's also it's also the beginnings of this change in the way these type of things are presented ethically and morally. So it's a sign of the times in essence, and that's a brilliant thing. And so the last thing I'm going to go to is this cast, because we have some heavy hitters like Jeremy Irons. I noticed a couple of people have mentioned him. I always love Jeremy Irons. Emma Thompson. I also always love Emma Thompson. She is the mom, Seraphine, and the Christian church lady. We also have Emma Rosen, who is Ridley. She was Christine in Phantom of the Opera. She's a singer. You can watch her songs. You can watch her videos online. You have Alice, and I'm going to pronounce her name wrong. It's probably up here. Englert, I think is how you pronounce it. She, interestingly, has been a ton of stuff if you look her up, but this is the interesting thing. She was Billiana in You Won't Be Alone, the movie we reviewed a couple months ago. She was Billiana. That's the woman, that's the girl who becomes the mother and then has the child, or tries to have the child, etc. She was one of the main characters. I did not know that, so I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, Ethan White, the character Ethan White's played by Alden, and I have to look here, E-N, how you say his last name. There it is. Ehrenreich. He is Han Solo in the Solo movie. So you have all these characters, but there's one I've left out here, and that's the one I really want to bring out. And nobody's mentioned her yet, and that is Amma. She is the librarian. She is played by Viola Davis, the great Viola Davis, who is in a number of wonderful films. You probably know her from The Help if you've seen that. She was in the Hunger Games, most recent version of it. She was fantastic. And the important thing about Viola Davis's character, and I feature her in a section in my book called On Hoodoo, and bear with me here because it's super interesting. The original character, the librarian of Amma, was a maid in the original book. The director turned her into a librarian, which is a big, important thing especially for Viola. And she said, when they asked her about it, she says, I understand and I respect the book, but this is 2013. And I think that when Black people are woven into the lives of characters in 2013, then I think they play other roles than maids. So this was a really important change for her. And it was precipitated by the director and writer, not her, but she did a fantastic job. And librarians in witchy movies are really important. There's typically always one. They're either a librarian or a metaphysical store owner, or they know a professor, that knows about the occult. There's always someone in these, and she plays that role, and it's typically played by an old white guy or sometimes a mother figure, like in The Craft. But this is a step forward for the representation of witches, Black witches, that in Hollywood film. She is a witch herself, a folk witch. And you can see her do a little ritual. She's not a caster. She's different, but she has the knowledge. And what's really interesting is she also said that she spent a ton of time in New Orleans studying voodoo. And also she said, I did also research on the Yoruba tradition in Nigeria, because they do a lot of meditation and channeling. She did a ton of research on hoodoo as well, and she's not really characterized as not at all as a voodoo practitioner, not really a hoodoo practitioner, but it's really one of the first movies where you start to see the representation of something other than Wicca and satanic witchcraft and fantasy witchcraft. Now you're starting to see the folk witchcraft in a very positive way. It's just subtle and small in here, but it's there. And it's a really nice, I think it's a really nice characterization. I like what they did with that character. I'm not supposed to be giving opinions. Sorry, I didn't give that opinion. You didn't hear it. But that is some really interesting stuff about this movie. And I'm going to tell my opinion later. So okay. I will shut up now.
Thank you. That is beautiful. And I did not know all of that. And Jeremy Irons was great. They were all great. Viola was great. Jeremy, the casting was great. The kids might've been a little old. And
they were definitely not 15 and 17.
And more than anything else, not even how they looked, but they were too clever. And I don't remember being that clever and witty at 15, no. 16, that quick on a thing. I mean, you might've had it in you, but it was slower coming out. But I'll go next. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I do like Gothic, and I do like that whole Southern setup because it's so foreign to me. This little West Coast girl, that is another planet to me, and to see that whole Bible Belt thing. So I enjoyed it. I saw many flaws in it as a movie. I even got bored at one point, just a little tiny point. But it held me, and the love story held me, and the magic held me, and I love the house. That old scary house on the outside. Then you walk in, and it's like, what? And it changes with the seasons. It changes with the equinox and the Sabbats and everything. It's like, wow, I want that house. So, and again, the magic that they did in the spinning and the tables and this and that, I thought was really fun. Fantasy and Gothic and love story. So it was a good choice. If this was your choice, Heather, I really enjoyed this one.
Yay.
Courtney.
So when it first started, was like, oh, Twilight. I could get into this because, as I have unashamedly admitted, I love Twilight. It is what it is.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, nobody's perfect.
Listen, I love it because in the same way I love The Killing Tree because it's so bad I just can't stop watching it. Anyway, I admit it's terrible. This movie, I feel like if I had watched it when I was in the mood for a movie, I've never seen it before today, but if I had chosen this movie when I was sitting down on the couch with a bowl of popcorn on like a rainy fall day and I had nothing to do and I just was flipping through and trying to find something to watch and it caught my attention and I sat and I watched it, I would have loved it. But I was watching it on a deadline, under pressure, with 18,000 other things to do, and it could not hold my attention. I caught parts of it, like I was paying attention to parts of it, but then it would lose me and I had no idea what was going on. And then something insane would happen. And then I'd be like, oh wait, well, what did I miss? And I'd be watching it. Like the doing it with the fire, like that was incredible. And the house, which I did not like. I want it to be a spooky old house like it looks on the outside because that's who I am as a person. But I feel like I would have loved it. So I'm gonna go with Heather's tried and true. I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
Well,
I just want to say that house being this weird modern thing, I'm not a modern thing. I want Richard Lael to do my house. I'm an antique girl, but there was something so odd about that. I just loved it with that staircase. Okay,
for me, it was like so just like gothic, witchy, whatever, and then all of a sudden like sci-fi. And it was just jarring in a way that like I was like, oh no, I'm out of it now. Stop doing that. But I did love when they walked in and it was like fall and like with the leaves, whatever. That was kind of interesting. Or like when they went into the dining room, that was the tornado room for whatever reason. And like that was pretty and that was cool. But it was that walking into that like weird staircase and like nothing that I was like, is this a spaceship? Like, are we witches in space? Like, what are we doing? And
I think that's a movie, Witches in Space.
Oh boy,
should be
Pigs in Space. That's a Muppet thing. Okay.
Oh right. Well, I thought the film was beautiful. It was beautiful. I mean, the CGI mid 2000s was a little bit cheesy at points, but one of the things that really got me was what I preach as much as one can. He in the fight, he says, the kid says to her that I tell you these things because I love you. And, you can use your power on me, but real people, they have emotions. And then she, in sort of her response is she learns to accept both sides. And, I think that really you have to have both light and dark. If you have only light or only dark, you're not balanced. I like to tell people that unlike other psychic mediums here in New Orleans who are all love and light or doom and gloom, I am a happy medium. And it's funny, ha ha ha, I say those things, but where I really sort of get my energy, my motivation is as an artist. People would come into my art shows and these are just some of my art, but they would come into the art shows and they would think that it would be architectural. They would think it would be bronze or metal, but it was because I knew where the light was and I knew where the shadow would follow. And you have to have both. Otherwise you are really just lost. So I liked the moral lessons that it had.
Well, for every time that I hex Jason Mankey, I also send positive vibes to someone who needs them. So I'm right there with you. It's all about balance.
Well, I will share that I saw this one in the movie theater because, as I said, I started to see a trend because of what else was around at that time. And there was a ton of fairy tales. Once Upon a Time was starting then. You had Salem, the TV show. You had American Horror Story Coven. Witches of East End, I think, had already come out. Celebrations for the Wizard of Oz's 75th, or I think it was their 75th. You started to see Oz the Great and Powerful. There was a ton of witchcraft, mostly fantasy. And this followed, and I really am interested in seeing, I love to watch the monsters that this one of the things is I love to watch cultural trends in movies, obviously, but I love to see the monsters we're fascinated with because they come in waves. The early 2000s were ghosts and paranormal, a huge number of films that were all ghost and paranormal in the early 2000s. We went through a zombie period, we went through a vampire period, and then of course we have the witches. And so this movie I went to see in the theaters when I said, oh, I got to see this movie. So I watched it. I loved it because I love that Gothic aesthetic. I love the magic. And someone put it up in the thing, Southern trees are magical. And I responded back, and I know Richard Lale, you could do this in a heartbeat because you're on the coast, the coastal South, and the trees in the coastal South, the live oaks whose branches just droop down to the ground with the Spanish moss. If you can find a street in the South with some old houses on it in Charleston or Savannah, and even in northern Florida, New Orleans, and you can find a street like that with those live oaks and that Spanish moss, go out there at twilight, go out there in the early morning, late at night when the sun is setting. It is one of the most the trees sparkle. They emanate they emanate the history of the land. You talking about land magic and land spirits. Those trees are just loving on it. So I love that. And so anything that has that is going to be like okay with me, even if the movie is terrible. And I also enjoyed Twilight. For whatever the good, the bad, and the ugly, and there's some bad and there's some cheesy, but I actually liked watching Twilight. I'm totally with you, Courtney.
I have never been more excited about anything in the entirety of my life.
We binge watched them all as a family. But I enjoy watching them. You know what? I'll watch good, bad. I don't care. I enjoy watching them. And this is very much Twilight with witches, but I enjoyed it. I loved it. It isn't perfect. There are parts where I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of boring. But there's parts where I'm like, when Ridley comes walking out with her sunglasses in her black lace outfits and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. They spent some money. All that $60 million was spent on costuming and all of the aesthetics. Yeah. And so I enjoyed it. I said, this is super fun. And then adding the pieces with Amma and her character was fascinating for my work. So I don't know. People need to give it a second chance.
I just want to piggyback on that. The costuming was so gorgeous. The only thing that the only costume I really didn't like I really, 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 really hated. So
which one?
It shows the great grandmother in the Civil War, and her beau dies shot by a Union soldier. And then, of course, she transforms into this haggard witch, and she goes from a very antebellum 1860s dress, like full dress, into this sort of mid-teen 2000s, like scary, destructed prom dress. And I really hated that dress.
I missed that. I
will say Ridley, like every time Ridley was on the screen, I was like, I stopped what I was doing and I was like, all hail, because I have a huge girl crush on her. And as soon as I figured out that she was also Fiona in Shameless, I thought I was going to pass out. And so I had to like just mark every movement that she made because she was a queen in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Jeremy Irons, his outfits, everything.
I think that my least favorite character in this one, or my least favorite acting job in this one, was Emma Thompson, which is really sad to say because I really like Emma Thompson in most things she does. But I felt that this was, although she does the church lady thing really well, at times it just felt a little bit over the top for me. I felt she could scale back a little bit on it, but that would be one of my, there's places like that where the movies are just trying too hard a little bit. And I think maybe that's what people reacted to badly, because it was a little bit too much. They could have toned the whole thing down, and maybe it would have worked a little bit better. I did not read the original book. I do have a copy of it because I had to reference some things in it, but I did not read the full book. So I don't know how it worked with the original. I don't know if we have a Coven member here in the chat that actually read the original stories. So chime in if you did.
I loved, however, Emma Thompson when she's playing the church lady this entire time, and she sort of is inhabiting this body, and in her reveal, she rips the cross off. And that, to me, actually mirrors something that I did. Long story short, I was 25. I'd moved to Vegas. My father had just passed away, which, by the way, my family practiced folk magic, but would never have been called witches. That they would have been mortified to have been called a witch. They would have been, that was not what they were, but they just knew things and they would make things happen. I digress. So I was living in Vegas. I was 25 years old. And this is sort of my deconversion story. I wasn't 16, but I was a hairdresser, and I had gotten a job. I'd gotten a job in retail. So while I was waiting for my license to transfer, and I didn't really know where I was, and mobile phones were really not so good in those days. They were just not. You could call, and that was about it. But payday was a couple of days away, and I got on the bus to get home, and I didn't know where I was. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll get off the bus here. And you know what? Sometimes I hide money from myself, like in my wallet, so that in case I always have a little mad money. And I opened my wallet, and there in the back behind my driver's license was a 20 note. And I thought, this is great. I'll go in, I'll charge my phone, I'll call my flatmate, see exactly where I am. I will get a quick bite, and then I'll get back on a bus and I'll get some change. It'll be great. So I go up to the counter and I take that 20 out, and it all came rushing back to me. It was one of those Christian tracts, and I opened it up and it said, "Disappointed? Imagine how disappointed Jesus is." And I was so devastated, because at this point, even though, I was still questioning my Christian upbringing, I was a Sunday school teacher, and I was the choir director, and I was a youth sponsor, and I would exhaust myself dancing in the ballet like 30 hours a week, and going to school 40 hours a week, and working 20 hours a week, and then making time to go to church every Sunday twice, and on Wednesday every week. And I was so broken by the fact that I remembered that I put that little thing in my wallet because I thought it was funny. And I went back out to the bus stop where I had gotten off, and I sighed, and I felt that there was a cross I had worn since I was 15. I bought it when I was 15. And suddenly that cross weighed 1,000 pounds. And I ripped that cross off, and I threw it in the gutter, and I said, the Bible says the just shall not go hungry. And of all of the tithes that I paid and all of the time that I spent, you couldn't even give me $20. And so I wandered lost for hours. I wandered back and forth up and down the street for hours. I could not figure where I was. And I was crying, and I was lost. And then I went, wait a minute. Okay, it's dark now, but I know where I am. This looks familiar. Finally, after like hour number 3, I knew where I was. And so in Emma Thompson's portrayal, she makes this thing about what makes you lose your power is pretending to be something that you're not, hiding behind something. So even though Emma Thompson was over the top and wasn't really necessarily the best in her performance skills, that symbol of ripping the cross off and revealing who she is was personally very powerful for me.
That's cool.
Beautiful story. We're all hugging young Richard Lale right now.
Oh, I'll hug him.
Well, it was a long.
Don't disturb the Roomba.
Richard Lale knocked over Black Phillip, not the Roomba.
Did it fall over again?
No, the Black Phillip did, but I did that. Nobody, don't come in the comments and say that it fell, because I'll be scared.
Oh, you did that.
All right. Well, do we have any quotes on this movie, Miss Courtney?
Yes. Yes. Please hold. Okay. So in all fairness, I took some, and then I got distracted, and then I tried to focus on watching the movie, and then I have a couple other ones. So they're not really in any order. Hold on. The beginning was like one-liner after one-liner, which I really liked. Whatever his name is, the boy, Ethan, I think, was talking, and he said, "I start junior year tomorrow. Insanity is inevitable." And as a mother of a high schooler, soon to be, I feel that in my soul. Then he said, "They keep reenacting the Civil War like it's going to turn out different." So that was funny. And then one of the mean girls said something about, "She damned daddy to hell so many times, I swear." Oh, no, maybe it was one of the boys. "She damned daddy to hell so many times, I swear he drank just to get there quicker." And I thought that was pretty funny. One of the mean girls did say this. She said, "She looks like death eating a cracker," when What's-Her-Face walked in. And then let me go over here. Hold on. One of the girls said, "I pray every night that you don't go straight to hell." And Ethan said, "Oh, I won't go straight to hell, Emily. I want to stop off in New York first."
I did that.
Then, oh yeah, Lena, when the mean girls were being mean, she said, "Bless your heart, sugar. You must have been first in your litter." Which I thought was funny. Oh, and then, okay, this is my last one, and it was my probably all-time favorite line in the whole movie. Ethan, when she was like looking through the book and trying to figure out the book, Ethan said, "Don't worry, you'll find it. Just look under how not to turn into your mother." And I was like, so
It's funny.
Those are my quotes.
Thank you. All right. I guess we have one thing to do yet, and that is to vote. Everybody, looks like a lot of people. Up. Yay. Okay, all you people in the chat room, one's up, one's down, one's in the middle, one's up or one's down. Look at this. How often are we unanimous on this?
But to be fair, Mr. Mankey is not here today, not in physical form.
That is
true. We don't know how he would vote, so we aren't getting. I'm not seeing the. Oh, there we go. Now we're starting to see some. Okay.
One's up. Mary Jane, one's up. Absolutely, one's up. One's uppity up. Oh, good. One's up and horns up. One's up. God bless your heart, sugar. Up for me, one's up. Okay, it's an up. We've got one neutral, no down, and
fascinating, considering the movie gets like 3 stars and is pretty much bombed, and here we are defying the odds.
Well, to be fair, it's terrible, but it gives Twilight vibe. Oh, you know what it did remind me of too? It reminded me of if Twilight and that other movie that we watched that one time that was surprisingly cute, The Last Keepers.
Covenant?
Well,
The Last Keepers. The Covenant does this, tried to do the same thing in a different way.
The Covenant did it in a different way that was better, but
oh, well, I don't know about that.
It was more fun to look at. The Last Keepers.
Like, I love that movie.
Me too. And so it felt like that and Twilight came together in a movie. So
well, because those were both about teenage girls witchy girls trying to come into their own and their magic, and having probably 16, 17-year-old and dealing with their family, their witchy family versus their non-witchy boyfriend, and falling in love. So yeah, I could totally see that Beautiful Creatures is a love child of Last Keepers and Twilight.
Yeah.
That makes
That's
total
the
sense.
t-shirt right there.
Little Doctor Strange, you have to admit, there's a little Doctor Strange in it.
I don't know. I don't necessarily see that, but that's good.
Uncle reminds me of
Yeah.
Macon reminds me
Macon.
of Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, what are we doing next week?
Colors Out of Space.
Colors Out of Space.
It's a 2019 movie.
Is it about outer space? Because that's what it sounds like. Alien.
There you go. You remember, Patty?
One. Yeah, that's my friend's. That's Scarlett's movie. We should maybe the girl who wrote it. Should we have her guest? She's great.
That would be wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's some kind of sci-fi. I have not seen it, so I'm looking forward to watching it, Patty. I can't wait.
Me too. I hope we can find a place to do it. But yeah, if it's okay with the coven, we could have a guest, the girl who wrote it.
Yes.
One of my dear workout buddies, Hollywood neighbors. Witch. Oh, she's a witch, by the way. She's definitively a witch.
What is it called? One more time.
Colors Out of Space.
Oh, I'm so excited now.
I can put it. I'll put it in the chat too, so everyone can see it spelled out. Colors Out of Space. Oops.
It might be weird, but what have we? I mean, we've seen a lot of weird. So. Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Do we have? Oh, do we have a movie minute? Did anybody? No, Jason, Richard Layell. Did you not this week? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that was Richard Layell. So no movie minute. So that's what we're just going to sit here and stare at the camera for a while.
We have lots of things to talk about. I can mention something else about the movie if we want to talk about that.
Because we can only cackle for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't make us cackle for 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes.
We tried that once and it was terrible.
Yeah, let's not cackle for 10 minutes. So the other thing someone brought up, which I was going to bring up, but we kind of got off, is that this is a movie about that pits a teenage daughter against her mother. And I know someone else brought that up in the chat, and I think someone mentioned it where we're talking offhand, but that's another typical fairy tale thing you see. Think about Snow White, think about Cinderella, very classic fairy tales pit the mother, usually a mother witch, magical witch. And it's another thread that runs through my book is that adult mother, not an old lady, but an adult mother, a mature woman pitted against the teenage girl who's now coming of age and is threatening. So you see a lot of this fairy tale stuff going through Beautiful Creatures, like the age of 16 and all this.
Even Emma Thompson says something along the lines of, do you know how hard it is to give birth to someone who is a more perfect version of you, who's younger and has all of the possibilities? So you're absolutely right. It is that thread.
They brought that into Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Who's the fairest? Oh, she's the fairest. Well, let me go kill her. I mean, that's right out of fairy tales. And it's this pitting of women against girls. And I won't get on my feminist soapbox about how problematic that's been for women through the centuries in harming our culture and our girls. So that is something that Beautiful Creatures has. It really, I think the original novelist really pulled a lot from fairy tales. And that's another reason this movie was made at this time. Again, everybody remembers all the fairy tale shows that were coming out. I bet we have people that watched Once Upon a Time and all the witchcraft, all the Wizard of Oz stuff, Oz the Great and Powerful, which I don't think we've reviewed that yet here. But that's another piece of this that's really interesting that I was going to bring up.
And we could also watch The Witch Who Came from the Sea, just because nobody brought that up.
Imagine if we went one episode without reliving my trauma.
Well,
oh wait, we don't ever.
You're gonna get cursed, Richard Layell.
That and Killing Tree have already been mentioned.
Somebody has to get cursed because Mr. Mankey's not here. But I'm not the one with the haunted Roomba, just so you know. I live in a haunted house. Are you kidding? I don't vacuum.
Somebody needs to call attention to it. It's just existing over here. I'm giving it its screen time. I don't know what else it wants.
It
Well,
wants to be opened.
maybe it wants to be opened.
It wants to be opened.
Should I open it now?
Yeah.
Let's see what the coven in the chat says.
Whoa.
Should it be opened?
Hold on.
And
Who in the
do this
chat
one.
would like to see the
I'm
haunted Roomba?
looking out.
Mess up my house. Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
Don't block your eyes for a minute. Hold on. Oh no, everything's falling. This was such a little puzzle. Okay, hold on. All right.
Wow, that's a big Roomba.
Yeah, it's so heavy. Oh my god.
Unboxing. We should go viral just with this.
I don't want to do it. Okay. Imagine
Your lights changed. Go on, keep opening. It's fine.
I didn't change anything. My lights are on the wall and on the ceiling.
Keep going.
No. Okay. Hold on. All right, I'm just taking.
We could do MR and an unboxing.
I just wanted to take off the parts that had our addresses on it so that I didn't accidentally show everyone an address. Okay, here we go. It's in its box.
Roombas are pretty big.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh my god! There's a message on it from Dean.
It's haunted. Good luck.
Oh no!
Oh,
You don't have to take it out of the box. You just needed to unwrap it.
yeah.
Everyone in the comments, calm down and do not be wishing that everything's falling down because I can't. I'm getting very hot. I'm sweating profusely now. Oh my god, I didn't know he wrote on it. Okay, well, allow this to be my formal apology. I did text an apology, but allow this to be my formal apology because every single time that Dean made jokes about this, I did not believe him. I thought he was just being dramatic, and I made jokes and I laughed at his pain. And now I believe him, and I'm very sorry. You told the truth. I was wrong. You were right. It is haunted, and now it's here at my house, and I need all the luck I can get.
I can't wait to hear the stories.
I know. I want to see it turning itself on at 3 a.m. and driving around your house all by itself.
No thanks. I feel like what's going to happen is we're going to do the cackle in a minute, and I will not be the only one cackling in this room.
And we're practicing early.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Before we cackle, can I give it just one more shout out about Mystic South?
Please, please.
Mystic South, everyone's starting together Thursday, which is tomorrow, and then of course we will start our programming on. Well, some of it goes Thursday night, and then we go Friday through Sunday, and I will be doing a haunted doll workshop. I may say something about Patty's book. I may not. We'll see. And I'm also doing one to talk about what exactly is a witch, looking back at history to see what the word actually means. Hint, hint, a rebel. And then we have lots of great stuff coming. So again, if you can get to the Atlanta area, we do sell tickets at the door. We love having the more the merrier. Lots of witchy, mystical, bruja, Satanists, all the folks. Come on down.
Come on down. Next year, I'm going to be there. I've still never been to Atlanta. And I do want to say, anybody in the greater Los Angeles area, next Friday, I'm doing a gallery read. The first time in a theater by myself, my name on the marquee. I'm headlining the whole gallery. Hot Summer Seance, it is called, in New Hall, Santa Clarita. I'm really scared. And usually when I'm really scared, things go really well. So come on down. Come on down. We have a few seats left. So lots of fun things coming up. So that's
I think we need that on a t-shirt because I feel the same way. When I'm really scared, things go really well.
Yeah, it's fear. Fear can freeze you in your tracks, make you live not the life you want, or fear is the most inspirational thing.
That's what they say about performing. If you're nervous right before a performance, that usually means you're ready.
Yep, that means you're ready, and you just take that energy. Embrace fear. Ugh. Let's put you in another dark house there, Courtney.
And Lake Lanier.
Roomba.
I'm bringing the Roomba with me.
Anyway, it is that time. Again, this was one of our first unanimous, because not a single no, there was just one neutral. So on this beautiful little film, Beautiful Creatures. So we want to thank everybody for coming. Come next week. Oh, I hope so. I'm here next week. I think I should be. Friend's movie.
This is your friend's movie.
It is my friend's movie. Well, what's next week? Oh, I'm filming, but we will be done by then. Yay! I know we'll be done by then. Oh no. Philip just got a hole under his arm.
In his butt?
No, under his arm.
No, her joke is more modest than yours, dear.
Yeah. Well, we can't all be fun.
Like he lifted his leg too high. Anyway, yet I digress. 1, 2. You guys have to do it too in the chat.